Dover Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, before we get there, hey, the big news, no matter what you kind of news it is, it's some big news. Shohei Ohtani in baseball, that's the news. Bottom line. In basketball right now, you got to go with Russell Westbrook to the Lakers. Big news, right? People are wondering if it's going to work or not or whatever. Me, real quick, I'm going to probably do an extra video about it. But Russell Westbrook, I follow his games for the last 5 years anyway. Because I knew what he was up to was legendary. It didn't matter. The only time I missed a few games was when he was in Houston playing with James Harden, who is a hard watch for me, for those reasons, right? But the NBA is finally addressing some things that I said that they should address. But I'll get to that in probably just an total NBA video. But Russell Westbrook to the Lakers, it's going to work out, period, because Russell Westbrook going to make it work out. If you saw the second half of what he was able to do with the Washington Wizards, and I don't, those weren't really world beaters, but he made them look real good. And that team started to function and was a good team towards the end with players that you really don't consider to be great players. Let's just, to say it lightly. So the man has been leading the league in points before. He's led the league in assists on several occasions now, and he's averaged triple doubles. And people said, well, how can a guard rebound 11 times? Well, when he rebounds those balls and people trying to hate and says he's trying to get the rebounds. Well, yeah. Right? And when he gets them, he's running faster than you up court. It's a fast break waiting to happen. So you just get your shoes on and get ready to run next to him. It's going to give LeBron a lot of open looks, a lot of easy looks and finishing, things like that. A lot of transition points where people don't even have to run down court. High pick and roll with Anthony Davis. And then, a few shooters, it doesn't matter. And people going to come because let's make sure this is clear. We talk about just the little money that these players can make by coming. Yeah. But shoot, between Russell Westbrook, AD, and LeBron, all of them, each of them give them $1 million. That's another 3 on top of whatever they're going to get. Let's be real. So that's what's going to go down. The Lakers will have a couple of shooters around them, but we'll leave it at that. That's huge. Now, in boxing, I mentioned a couple of things before I get to my main point. One thing is, Sergey Kovalev, former champion, light heavyweight champion. He's the crusher. He's on the downside of his career. Right? And we've given him that with downside of his career because he's had a couple of losses. But one loss, he thinks he wants to rematch. And because he wasn't 100%, he didn't get his rest from his last fight. It was a very short camp. Those things, among other things that he said. So the guy wants a rematch with who? Canelo Alvarez. He wants to rematch Canelo Alvarez because he's like, hey, man, come on now. I wasn't 100%. You know it. I just fought at the yard in a hard fight. And just because you didn't really want to fight Andre in September, you waited till November. And I just fought in September. Right? And remember, this is why I'm going to keep mentioning it. Canelo could have fought on that September undisputed fight against Demetrius Andrade and got $40 million doing so. Decided not to. And I'm going to get Kovalev under these conditions. And the whole boxing world didn't say anything about it. Ignored that undisputed fight. I can never get past that. It's ridiculous. Like, oh, we didn't see the undisputed fight, so we're going to act like Canelo to get Kovalev, who had to fight at the yard first in September. But we're going to ignore September, and Canelo fights on September religiously, right? But forget it this year because it's Andrade there for undisputed, the first Mexican ever to become undisputed and get $40 million. We don't want that, and we're not going to mention that. We'll wait for Kovalev, who just fighting in September, to get him to fight in November on basically short notice for him, especially not really short notice, but short recovery time. So that's why Kovalev wants to rematch, and he said he'll fight for free, right? So those are the kind of things. That's another option that Canelo has. I just thought that was kind of pertinent. Now, something else that's pertinent is Bob Arum, legendary promoter. If you know anything about boxing, you know Don King and Bob Arum. Depending on how long you've been around. And these the guys. Nowadays it's Eddie Hearn and that kind of thing popping off. Oscar De La Hoya. But these guys, Bob Arum been around for a while, so he's the stateside promoter of Tyson Fury, and he thinks the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder trilogy match is going to generate at least a million pay-per-view buys. Me personally, I agree with him. I agree with him. I just think the people are underestimating the magnitude of this fight with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, right? It just kind of it mirrors America, what's going around with the you know the going away from each other, the division that's there. This fight is just typifies that. It just shows, for example, Tyson Fury got a call from last night or something from Donald Trump, right? People ain't even taking a call from Donald Trump, let alone take it and be happy that they got it. Right? Donald Trump called you, way back, man, I ain't here. You know what I'm saying? Who I ain't nothing I want to talk to him about. You know what I'm saying? But he got a call from Donald Trump, right? After beating Deontay Wilder, he was invited to the White House, but the COVID thing popped off. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. You know what I mean? How big this fight is to people, American people, right? Now there's the other side or whatever believes that, hey, Deontay Wilder was treated unfairly against a guy who has done the boxing law and the normal law on several occasions, and no one wants to look into it, right? So you have that element. Those people are tuning in for the fight for sure, right? Because they believe, or should I say, we, right, believe that Deontay Wilder deserves this shot and he's gonna knock his butt out, right? And we want to see it, win or lose. Other side probably don't want to really see it, and it's enough that's what's happened right now. And even if he cheated, so what? Let's not look into it and move on. Then you have the very few that's like, we think Tyson Fury gonna beat him because here's their reasoning, and this is a good one. It's like, because Tyson Fury in the first fight, which I said after the first fight, Deontay Wilder knocked him down. Right? They're out really, and it was probably a little bit of a long count, but Tyson Fury got up and handled his business the rest of that round. Right? Handled his business. The same thing he did to Steve Cunningham. I can tell you, when he gets knocked down, he gets up, and remembers that he's 6'7", 2 whatever, 6'9", 2 whatever he was gonna be, but it ain't gonna be under 260. Right? 260, 300, and he mauls him like he did to Steve Cunningham, and he did it at the end of that fight against Deontay Wilder, the first fight. Second fight, he came out there figuring out, I'm going to do all this stuff. But what I believe is like, I'm going to attack Deontay Wilder, but I know what could possibly come back. So he shouldn't be 100%. And I'm going to make sure that I got these gloves that I had against McDermott. And plus my fist's going to be down at the bottom. We're going to do all these things because I better hurry up and get him out of here because of what's coming back. Through all the information that I've had, that's what I just believe. And that's what everybody should be damn believing. Right? But whatever. Some, digest stuff differently and for different reasons. I'm just going by, damn it, this is what I've seen. Right? And this is the dude that I've been seeing, that I've been saying whatever to for whatever. How long? Because of the other shenanigans I've been following through the years. So this is just for new people. It's like, well, how could you ever? Would you ever come up with these kind of crazy things? But, excuse me, let's take it on back. Let's moonwalk back to the beginnings. And you can find a whole lot of this on the way up here. This is just normal stuff for people that's been watching. That's why I don't know why we all acting like, hey, Tyson Fury done something again. What else is new, brothers? So anyway, the point is, America's got this thing going on right now, and Bob Arum says it's going to do 1 million buys, and that's one of the reasons. What was just saying right there, it's a lot of things going on. You see how I was able to rant about the gloves and stuff like that. So there's people that believe these things, and there's people that think Tyson Fury is good. You got people that are very racist and thinks that I just want to see this white dude beat this black dude again, right? You have that element, and it is what it is, right? And Bob Arum said it. People get a kick out of Tyson Fury. American people get a kick out of Tyson Fury. It's a translation there, but we won't even get into it. But they get a kick. They get a kick out of Donald Trump. They get a kick out of Jim Jordan. They get a kick out of Matt Gaetz, right? You get a kick out of these guys. That's what you do. So they get a kick out of Tyson Fury. Doesn't matter what he does, if he's breaking the law, if he's not being fair. We get a kick out of him. And hopefully he can kick that brother's butt, right? And so that's what's going to go on. So that fight will generate 1 million pay-per-view buys because of that reason. I think it's very obvious. And it's just, let's make sure this is clear too. We could talk all this smack, but Tyson Fury can sell a fight. And Deontay Wilder, you're watching because somebody gets knocked out. You know, regardless, Deontay Wilder can't fight or whatever. It reminds me of people, you know, they're just sour grapes because he's not doing it conventionally. It's like saying Rod Carew ankle shouldn't hit the baseball when the baseball stands like that because the stance is all ridiculous looking. But he kept hitting the ball better than everybody else. Rod Carew can't really hit because he's not doing it conventionally. You know what I'm saying? Just took it back for y'all a little bit. Just that was the first analogy that came to mind. Just saying, you know, when you're a boxer or a boxing pundit or a coach or trainer, you're like, yes, he can't fight. He's not good at those things. But if I were going to take the results of any fighter that I just started working with, and he's knocking people out before they can get to the fact that he can't fight, and the result is he's won these fights without getting himself hurt, except for that right hand because he's hitting people on the cranium. Other than that, he's not suffering any damage, and he's knocking people out. That is the best case scenario. Then for the fan that's coming to the fights, like, man, you drive I came because my friend told me to come. I don't care about these fights. Boom! Oh, that dude is good. He's knocking people out. You got that element. You know, it just works with Golovkin, so it should work with Deontay Wilder. Knockouts, what's happening? So you got that element too, and a dude not getting. Don't try to say you can't fight. He's probably just not conventional. Then I can go with that. He's not conventional. But I like his record against anybody's records that can fight. All these people that can fight ain't in a rush to fight him. I think Anthony Joshua can fight real well, can he? Right? Isn't he technically sound? And all that stuff, all that good stuff. Luis Ortiz is my man. I think that's the boogeyman of the whole weight division. Luis Ortiz outboxing him, everything. Cuban background, been fighting forever. Got everybody on lockdown, on shook in the whole division. But for some reason, that right hand gets to you in 12 rounds. And to be able to do it late in the fight is not also a skill. Because I ain't got endurance issues. I don't know if people should say he can't fight, right? Because obviously he can. As a matter of fact, there ain't too many people gonna walk up on him and say that neither, by the way. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm about to here, y'all.